I've been spending time in the dojo, doing all the things that they won't show. No spotlights on me, no photos, becoming the king on the low level.
All right, guys, you're here with episode 5 of the Dad Dojo podcast. Here with my man Bobby Lashley, my man Rich Chou. The three of us have started this. We're going to be hosting this on the Weighing In platform. And as we've said before, we're just going to talk about being fathers, husbands, having our significant others, whatever it is. And we're going to talk about relationships and the responsibilities of men in the household, with their kids, with their wives, with their girlfriends, and in life, and how we handle it. And hopefully it brings some insight for you guys. So, but Rich has got a really good topic, something that came up this week. You sent me over the link.
Yeah.
And
I actually saw this a few weeks ago. So let me pull this up, and instantly got me like into critical thinking mode. And here we go. This is from CNN. James and Jennifer Crumbly, the parents of the teenager who killed 4 students in a 2021 school shooting in Oxford, Michigan, were each sentenced to 10 to 15 years in prison, respectively, weeks after they were convicted of manslaughter. They are the first U.S. parents to be held criminally responsible for a mass shooting committed by their child. So they are going to jail because of what their teenage child did. And let's
dive right in.
That's heavy, man.
There's so many different angles that we can go on here, and I think the first one is understanding the details.
Sure.
Because I think that we just started talking about it earlier today. So what are the details now? What role did the parents take? Because I don't think that you could just be a good parent and then your kid just does something stupid and then you're held accountable. So was it a deal where they just had guns laying around? They had that's still not a reason, but I think it has to be a layer of reasons. Was there abuse? Was there neglect? There has to be a level of reasons. I think that's the first part. I think the second part is, what angle are we taking this from? Are we taking it from the parents? Is this in jest for the parents? Or are we taking it from the other parents of the kids that got shot? Because if it happened to me, God forbid, and I don't even want to think about that, I want blood. I would tear through that school. Somebody's going down, and it's, I can't go beat up a little kid, but the parents, I'm jumping on the parents if I was on the other side. So I think there's a whole bunch of different angles that go on here.
It's not just angles, but there's layers to it of like, how responsible were the parents? Did they find documents of the parents that helped out? Did they not? Those are type of things, were the parents training him like to do certain things through a combatives type training seminar that he just took on his own? Then are the parents really influencing that? Or is it just the kid went on his own? But I guess for me, the layer first thing that came to mind was, what do you do when you have a single mother and a father, when they're separated? They're both the parents of the child. Should the one that's not in the life be responsible as well for not being there to help guide them?
Yeah, see, that
is the one that really gets me. Yeah,
this is tricky.
And look, I'm not against this. But in finding out what role the parents played in it. But if you have a single mother trying to raise a young man or a boy or a girl, and something like this happens, now she's being thrown in jail. What responsibility does she? What does she have? It gets real tricky in that situation.
For sure.
Now she's gone for sure. There's nothing for him when he does come out of jail. Or she does come out of jail. And then is the father that wasn't there, or let's say it's vice versa. The father raised the child, and the mom hasn't been present.
Well, okay, let's go back to this particular situation, right? This is the first of its kind, the first time parents in America have been charged for the crimes of their child, mom and dad. So we have a lot of questions, obviously, right? Like, did they do an investigation? Did they discover things that we don't know? We're just going off this, we didn't read any further, but just the overall idea that you're responsible for the actions of your children. Now, going to get a gun, like this was planned, premeditated, right? But what if it was your kid is out at a party, gets drunk, and gets in a car, and something really bad happens in that situation, right? That's a little more innocent, so to speak, right? Kids out at a party, it happens. We know. We've probably all done it ourselves. but that, I mean, I think that's the point of this talking about this and using this as an example is how it can affect other situations. Like, let's say it was that the drunk driving issue. Like, our kids are going to be out. They're going to be out at parties.
Mhm.
They're going to be offered alcohol. Let's say it's a lapse in judgment. Like, one time, does that?
Yeah, but that's
something
not,
really bad happens.
That's
like
not the same as this, though. This is
right.
something,
That's
this is all. Yeah,
But that's my point. Let's say one of our kids is out at a school party in high school, gets drunk with his buddies, doesn't know, right? Is just offered a drink, gets drunk, drives home, kills somebody, and then next thing you know, you're forced to go to jail because of that.
I think one thing that's hard is, I think at some point parents are going to have to learn that, or people have to learn that you just can't have kids. If you're not ready to have kids, it's a hard job. Like we're all talking about, it's a hard job. You can't just have kids, because if you have kids, you're kind of responsible for them all the way going through. And I remember a scenario that I had. I was teaching a wrestling camp, and this kid in this wrestling camp, this kid came with nothing. It was a week-long wrestling camp. His dad dropped him off. Kid had nothing. We're scrambling for clothes for this kid, everything. And this kid was tough, real tough. And I was like, man, this kid's like different than all the other kids. He was smashing kids. And I remember I was like, I got to follow this kid's career, you know? And of course, when you leave a camp, all the kids go their separate ways. So you don't really have an opportunity to just follow them. But like years later, I go to a wrestling tournament, kids wrestling tournament, and this kid was there. And I was like, dang, I remember this kid. And he came by me, and he's real scrappy. And I saw his dad. His dad was like mean. And what we found out with this kid is that this kid was like in a real hard household. Like his dad was mean. And I've never seen this before in a wrestling match. This kid goes out there and wrestles, and the whole time you could just tell he was scared of his dad. You could see it. And his dad was just sitting there like mean, like he goes out and wrestles, and he's just killing this kid. And he keeps looking over at his dad, and his dad was like, no, like more. Almost like punish him. Yeah. Like a movie. And I was like, man, this kid, in wrestling, it's like, that's cool. But at the same time, I was like, man, this is a weird little exchange. And then he finally gave him the go ahead to pin him, and he pinned him, and he came over. The dad just seemed like a mean person. So we followed this kid a little bit, and we found out that there was a lot of abuse there. Year later, where was this kid at? Juvie. Doing some bad stuff.
Yeah.
So in the case like that, I can see it, because I can see his dad, and I can see how his dad was treating him. And then we found out there was some abuse in there. And then what happens? The kid just takes that abuse to doing other things. So he got in trouble from getting in fights and all kinds of other stuff. So in a case like that, I can see, yes, the father should be
because
held
that wasn't an
responsible.
accident. Like what this guy committed, going out and shooting people at school. That's not an accident.
No.
That's yeah, for sure. He planned it. It was, there's a lot of things that have to happen for, where did he get the gun, right? Like, again, we have no details outside of just the fact that parents are getting charged. But I just think it opens up potentially also a can of worms, right? Like I said, what if your kid is involved in an accident? What if your kid gets in a fight, punches another kid, that kid hits his head on the ground and dies? Are you all of a sudden then responsible? Are you going to jail for 10 to 15 years because of what your kid did? I don't know.
Well, I feel like in our country, we've spent a lot of time fracturing the family system and allowing the single family homes and encouraging that kind of thing to happen. And it's just not the way it should be. You should have both parents in the house. You need a male role model and a female role model to be in there for your son and your daughter. And just got to have a loving home, I think, and having two parents is a must.
What if they did have a loving home?
That's true. That's true as well. That's true as well. You can always have a loving home.
Yeah, maybe this kid just, I don't know. Maybe he, maybe the parents lost the connection, but I don't. Because I've seen examples, I'm sure you guys have too, where the parents did everything they could.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to, like you said, 2-parent home. Okay. I'm on the other side. So I don't necessarily have that. So I think this is a time for us to take a little break and say, we have to appreciate our counter. In your sense, your wives. And on my side, my ex. Because you do need
But you
that.
say you're not a 2-parent home, but she's very involved.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And you're very involved.
So
that's what I'm talking about. Like,
okay.
I'm sure you would love to have 2 parents in one home, but co-parenting is very important.
It's very important.
Where one is completely dismissed and not involved at all. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, I like to say, I like that quote. It takes a village to raise a kid, and it's not just the parents too. It's everybody around them.
Yep.
because it all comes. So let's talk more on this. It takes a village to raise the kids, right? So my daughter, my princess.
I said my princess.
Yeah.
We had just about 2 weeks ago, we had the teacher wrote this email about my daughter got in trouble in school, and I'm sitting there baffled because my little girl, she's my little ace. She's track, she's blazing. She won district. She gets straight A's. She is a genuinely sweet kid. I was driving home with them one day when her and all of her friends, and I just listened to some of her new friends talking, and it was like the wrong group, you know? So when I read through the email, of course, I wanted my daughter to be innocent, and she didn't do it, but it was a deal where they had a substitute teacher come in, and my daughter she was in the group of one of the girls that was being very smart mouth. So this girl, me and my ex, we always talked about, we were like, we really don't like her because we see how she is. She's too grown for a 7th grader, and she talks back to her dad. She's always like arguing, and she just talks very grown. And her parents let her do anything that she wants to do. So my daughter was around her, and then they all collectively got like in trouble. So to the point where a teacher wrote home. So I was upset with my daughter, and originally I just said, all right, I don't want you around her anymore. We're not spending the night at her house. She's not coming over here. You know, I had to set my foot down because her parents don't have control. So we all think that everybody's the same way as us, but some parents just don't have control. So I had to pull her away. So even though the parents are a big influence, everybody around them is the influence also. Yes. So it always goes back to, for me, like I keep saying, is communication such a big deal with our kids. I'm always sitting down and talk with my kids. So I don't want those situations to happen. It would blow my mind if my kid went to school and did something like that, because I think I have genuinely good kids. Anytime when they're around anyone else, they always like, man, your kids are very respectful. Why? Because I teach them and they watch me. So I think the parents are a little bit, should be held accountable because, and like I said before, not everybody should have kids, but my kids watch me. When I go around and I talk to people, when I communicate to people, how I treat people, my kids watch me. So I think the parents should be held accountable no matter what, for some reason, but to what extent? You know, it's giving them a loaded gun and having them go do something. Of course, I'm completely responsible, but for just having the kid do and the people that they're around, they're going to do different things. When I was growing up, I lived with my mom from high school on, and my mom was kind of never around. So I kind of just grew up on my own, and my dad was in another state. So I had to grow up on my own. So,
but that's my point. How would your mom be held accountable though? Given that she had to take care of you, but she wasn't able to because she was working probably all the time. You were able to do what you wanted. I had a very similar upbringing. Is my dad was always working, very rarely could make it to wrestling matches, soccer matches, baseball, whatever it was. Very rarely could make it because he was working all the time. So should he be held accountable for trying to provide? That's where we're having.
If we started holding parents a little bit more accountable, then people will start making better decisions when they think, let's have kids. I mean, that's hard to say, and we can't punish people for doing that. But my dad, if you wanted to have kids, you should have been there. Like, he's in a whole different state, you know. So different parents. It's like, for me, when I was living in Colorado, I lived in Colorado for 20 years. I wanted to move earlier, but I was like, I'm not going to leave my kids. No matter what, all kinds of different opportunities got thrown towards me. I was supposed to come up and train with you guys. Dwayne wanted me to come train, but I was like, I can't. And he's like, come on, man, you come up here. You get good training partners. I'm not doing it. I have kids. They're my responsibility. I didn't move to Texas until my ex said, I am willing to move. And I made it completely comfortable for her to move with. If not, I would have stayed there until my kids graduated. So I think parents got to start taking a little bit of responsibility for their kids. If you have kids, they're your responsibility until they're not. So no matter what, I think the parents should be held accountable to a certain extent. It's just how much. And I think that goes by the judge and jury.
To go into the it takes a village is when I was younger, I grew up on the east side of San Jose. I was living with my grandmother when my parents got divorced. We kind of were there a lot anyways, you know, during the time they were married. But it was, there was a little place right around the corner. It's called the Pink Elephant on the east side of San Jose by Powell Stadium. And we would walk down there. I'd get my hair cut there. There's a grocery store was there. And we'd walk to go grocery shopping. and there was kids on the other aisle. It wasn't me. There was kids on the other aisle, but they were like walking through and knocking things off of and my grandmother would yell like, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Don't be disrespectful." It was a little Mexican store that we all used to go shopping at in the community there. And the mother came around the corner and, "Oh, thank you," and actually said, "Thank you for disciplining my kids." Like you were saying, it takes a village. Now these days, if someone is to do something, they'll automatically side with their children. Be like, "Well, what were they doing? Like, what? But don't be talking to my kids that way." That's where things have gotten so much different since those times.
Yeah.
When you saw someone else's child acting up, being disrespectful, being rude, doing something they shouldn't be doing, other people would speak up. Now the parents are criticizing those who talk to their children that way. You know, I understand that sometimes people will go overboard and start disrespecting those young kids. But like you tell them, "Hey, we don't do that. Let's not do that." Like I see with my son after school, they play with all of their friends. When they start wrestling hard and they start getting into it, I'm like, hey, let's dial it back just a tiny bit. Don't mind that you guys are goofing around, but let's dial it back. And a lot of the moms that are there, the dads are, "Oh, thanks for saying something." Yeah. That's what I enjoy about Texas right now. Yeah. In California, I would have never have done that because it's a different type of parent that is there.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're a lot more present here, I would say.
Yeah.
That community, which is essentially the village, right? In that analogy. So yeah, it does take a community, a village.
But what's your take on like if let's just say if one of the kids was running down the aisle hitting things, or like an example is I saw this one kid eating grapes at the store and the mom said no and the kid threw a fit.
Yeah.
And just tore up the grocery store. Like
I think about all the time, and it's probably more complicated than we know because we're just looking at one moment. Like maybe the kid has mental health issues or something, I don't know. It's easy to look at the parent because, as we've said, who else are you going to blame? You're not going to just blame the kid. It's like you look at the parent and fairly or unfairly, that's how it goes, right? At that young age, it's like, hey, control your damn kid, right? How many times have we seen that? Whether you're, like you said, you're out at a store, you're out at a restaurant, you're on the airplane, you're like, the baby's like crying like crazy. Why don't you get up and walk and try and calm the baby, right? Like that's your responsibility, right? We're kind of critical when we see people out in public like that and their kids are wilding out. Now, what we're talking about here is a teenager, and I guess it got me thinking, like, how well do we know our kids, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, you're in the car with your daughter and the girls, and sometimes I even trip out. Like I always observe. I love to observe my kids with their friends, like in their environment.
Yeah.
When we're not around, I just watch and I'm like, all right, let me see what this
it's true though.
See what this dude is up to. Let me see how him and his friends. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't like that, but so I think it to me it begs a question, like, how well do you know your kid? Like, when we think we know them, right? Like you said, oh, this is my baby, she's a sweet girl, and I like to think the same of my baby girl, but how well do we know them? And I think that's an important thing here, is connecting with your kids, trying to understand who they are, to avoid, like, look, this is an extreme, right? This is a real extreme situation. But I don't want my kid to be the crazy one. I don't want my kid causing trouble. I don't want my kid to be the bully. But they're out there, and it just makes you wonder, how do they get in that position?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think in those cases, like you were talking about, I always check my kid, no matter what. If I'm coming around the corner and I see somebody telling them,
grab them by the neck.
No, I say because they always, I didn't do anything. I don't care. If this person had,
or you get this, I get this all the time.
Yeah, no. What? If this person had a reason to say something to you, let's figure out what you did. Because in life, that's what you have to do. We're trying to teach life lessons, right? So I don't care if this guy was rude. I don't care if this guy was racist. I don't care if this guy was anything. What did you do to trigger him to have a response to you? So let's figure that out. And I think that's the only thing we can do, because we can only control our kid.
So you're a victim blamer. You like to blame the victim.
No, it's not
the victim. Is your kid at that time. You're like, so what did you do?
It's not the victim.
No, but
you're a victim blamer.
No, it's not. It's not the victim. And on top of it, it's a lot of times you like, and I hate to even bring up this topic, but you know how they say a lot of times when cops target different people, say, okay, I'm a black man in this world. So it was that deal where cops are going after black men, you know, and they always say cops are shooting black men. That was the narrative that was pushed across the board. On top of that, if my son gets into that situation where he has to do that, I teach him, what can you do better? Because you cannot control what somebody else is going to do to you, but you can control what you do. Don't put yourself in a situation that's going to give you an opportunity to have something happen to you. So if you're walking down the grocery store and a buddy of yours in front of you was knocking things down or whatever it was, and somebody came and checked both of you, then that was your friend. So what were you doing to put yourself in this situation that made you, you want to say a victim, so just don't do it. So
that's a guilty by association when your friend is involved. But that's different than you being in the car by yourself driving and the cop pulls you over. Different scenarios.
Yeah, okay, but if the cop pulls me over, how am I gonna if I'm gonna give him a trigger to do something to me? What are those triggers? I'm just gonna stay away from it for that little moment in time. Because I ran into a situation where it was a few different situations where it's like I almost couldn't do anything because of the hatred that was geared towards me, but I had to do everything that I can so that I didn't escalate the situation.
I for myself also, just when I was younger, I got pulled over a lot, speeding all the time, doing things I shouldn't have been, weaving in and out of traffic. No matter what, it was always yes sir, no sir. No matter what, to any cop, doesn't matter. Didn't matter. Yes sir, no sir, yes. Even when you knew that they were trying to instigate something.
Right.
I felt it several times. Get out of the car. Let me see your ID. You got anything good? Got any guns? Got any drugs? And you're like, no sir, no sir, no sir. You're like,
I think I know the answer to this, but I'm gonna ask you guys. Did you get whooped as a kid?
Oh yeah.
Did you get whooped as a kid?
Man, I can show you some bruises.
They still haven't gone away, those bruises, huh?
I still have PTSD a little bit.
Yeah. So you guys know what I'm getting at, right? As we grew up a certain way, because I hear a lot of respect, right?
Yeah.
From you guys coming out that at a young age, you learn how to respect people, respect authority. And I'm not saying, you know, again, that's a slippery slope there, respecting authority. But for the most part, we all got, you know, we grew up in a different generation, and we got disciplined a little differently, right? Like you can't spank your kids these days.
The thing is, there's a difference between, for me, it was excess.
Right. But does that make a difference though? Do you think?
I think it does.
Makes a difference.
I think it makes a huge difference. It makes a difference that you've gotten spanked, but it also makes a difference too in terms of excess, because then you start to carry that anger with you towards other kids or other people, which is pretty much what I did, which led me into being a fighter. But I think there's
a successful.
I think
fighter.
there's a time and a place. If your child is doing something that may endanger themselves, get themselves killed, you've got to take that to the next level and say, hey, look, when I spank you right now, because of that, there's a reason. It was so important that you could have died from doing that. That's why I'm spanking you. But if you're always at an 11, right, instead of a 1 through 10, I'm always at an 11, whooping your butt for everything, they don't understand what is important anymore.
You're passing that anger energy down to your kid.
And so then that's the difference. Whereas mine, it didn't matter what, like, don't get me wrong, I wasn't the angel, that's for sure. But it was whoopings got, whoopings got intense.
It's not the answer. Sticks, I get what you're saying. It's not the answer, but there needs to be some type of mechanism to let a child know, like, hey, that's wrong. Mm-hmm. And there's punishment attached to it. So whether it's, I remember you mentioned before, like, Bobby, if I remember correctly, like, your punishment will be push-ups or something, right? It doesn't always have to be. I wasn't.
I do the burpees and the push-ups.
Right. Like, it doesn't.
You don't turn your light off in the house. 10 push-ups.
Right. It doesn't always have to be, the form of some type of physical. It could be like that. Yeah. A different type of physical discipline, not necessarily spanking or.
Like I said, mine is for, if there's going to be spankings in the house, it's going to be for something that could have really gotten somebody else hurt or yourself really hurt. That would be it. So you understand the severity of, we do not do that. Like, we do not sprint across the parking lot of a grocery store. Yes. And I'm going to whoop your butt for that, because you need to know we don't do that.
The punishment has to fit the crime.
Yes. Now, everything else, if you don't turn the lights off in the house, you don't do this. Like, those are things that, look, in the long run, they don't mean anything except for to us as parents.
Right.
Those are things that, like, you just want to teach your kids good habits, not to just throw their socks, which my son just can't seem to stop doing.
Yeah.
Throwing his socks all around the house. There's a trail to his bedroom.
You punish him in a different way. Take something away, like you just lost screen time, whatever it may be. You're not gonna whoop his ass.
The punishment has to fit the crime.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think that's a big deal. Like with my, and on the same time, your kids have to know it's coming from a loving place. I mean, we're dads
but
now,
the whole classic. This is gonna hurt me more than it's gonna hurt you, right?
Yeah.
And then the belt comes out, and you're like, how does that make sense?
My kids. I think a cool thing that I like to do, and I know that I'm doing it, is I try to they're completely separate. So when my daughter had that stuff happen, there was a few things that we had. First thing, she loses her phone. Then she gets grounded. So all those were handed to her. Right. So she knew what it was. We took it away. And then I went back to separating it. So it's like, hey, now you want to go play some cards like this? So I'm not angry towards her. I'm not putting anything like that. She was angry because of all that. So she thought there was something involved with it. But no, the crime's there. Let's go do this. Mm-hmm. So it was in a sense, I don't think it's confusing for my kids because they understand my dad still loves me and he's doing everything from a loving place. Communication. I said, this is why. I sat down and she could tell that I was very disappointed with her. And I think that hurt her the most. Mm-hmm. But then all the other things that we put involved after it, no phone, and then you can't go anywhere, no spending a night. I don't want you to be associating with these people. All that stuff was just handed. Boom, here we go. But then we just carried life normally. So went to school, had a good time, smiled, everything like that. So I didn't make them feel that anger because I think that the disappointment is better than the anger. My kids go around and they're like, I don't want to disappoint my dad because I see what my dad does. We're setting an example for our kids. So I always constantly try to set an example for my kids. So if they're watching me and they're like, all right, my dad's like this, because you can always tell kids usually act like their parents. They're sitting watching you all the time. Yeah. So I try to set a good example. So I don't let the punishment trickle over into our relationship.
Yeah, they have to understand that, look, once we talk about what you're in trouble for, I forgot about it. It's done. I'm not carrying this over to the next day. Mm-hmm. When I was about 18, 19 years old, I went to go live with my uncle for a bit when I moved back to California from Idaho. And he used to be like, hey, you need to clean up your room. This is my house. I need to clean up your room. And there was little things along the line. A couple of times I'd leave early to school, to college, and just come back and be like, hey, your room is a mess. And he would get on me about look, man, you're not gonna be able to live here. And I kind of pout about it, try to avoid him, not talk to him. He's like, no, you're 19 years old. That's not what we're doing. I'm telling you, you got to get it done. And he would still, let's go have dinner. Let's go to a movie. Let's go do this. But the separation between this is what the rules are in the house. I'm not mad at you. I'm just telling you it needs to be done and not treating me any differently, but just you're a grown ass man. Now start acting like one. That has to be said for the kids. With my son, I tell him, hey, put your stuff in the dirty clothes. Turn your lights off. Make your bed. These things need to be done. If they're not done, okay, then we're going to start not doing things. You're not going to go to soccer practice. You're not going to go to lacrosse. You're not going to do this. Then those things start reality sets in. Your choice is not to do it. There's consequences for your choices, no matter what they are. So you've got to start doing these things that I'm asking you to do. But I also don't carry it over. It's your choice. If you don't want to do it, cool. Doesn't bother me if I don't got to drive you all the way down to the colony for practice. It doesn't bother me. It saves me gas and time. It's up to you. Your choice. Yeah. You just can't carry it over and start holding a grudge towards them. You're not, don't be more mad at them.
You're supposed to be the adult here. Yeah. Right. You're supposed to be the one that
supposed to be,
right. I'm not gonna, I'm looking at you and you're like, I never carry it over. I'm like,
yeah, it's hard. It's hard, man. It's hard.
And there's that time where the parent timeout. Because a lot of times you get a lot of stress going on. So when you go little things that your kids do, that just triggers that anger that you already have. So parents have to say, all right, let me go sit over here. Let this come out and then I can come back and deal with this situation.
Yeah, perhaps that's a great point. What both of you guys brought up, it just reminds me that as we're raising these kids to not be, to be productive members of society and in our community, to be good people, we also need to be in a mindset where we're patient, where when I get really busy and I'm stressed, I take it out on the kids sometimes, like not physically, but maybe even worse at times, either not paying attention to them or just getting irritated and snapping at them. And I catch myself, and so does my wife. And that's not a good thing either, because now that we're talking about the ultimate responsibility we have is a big one, right? To create, because I'll see some little badass kids running around in the community, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to worry about them when they get older, robbing my house or doing something stupid, right? Like, we think those things, right?
Bro, you need to move then. You
Right?
need to move.
Or maybe more so in San Jose than
Ate
here,
my house,
but
he's talking about robbing.
yeah, but you know what I mean, right? You see these kids, and whether they're just ignored or they're you're just like, man, this if this continues, they're going to be a problem when they get older, right?
You can step up and check them, like we talked about before. Check them.
Yeah, and I'm trying to look, at the end of the day, you're really responsible for your kids, right? I mean, you can help in your community, but your kids are your responsibility. As we've seen, you can now go to jail if they really go to the deep end. But I'm trying to, by saying all this, it's like, hey, when you're in a situation where you need to discipline your child or teach them, it's a teachable moment. Just make sure you're in the right mindset, right? Like,
I was talking about after I dropped off my kids and how I'm with my kids. I would love to consider myself a super dad, because I really, really put my heart and soul into my kids. And when I was driving with my dad, I dropped him off, and then he and I were driving a little bit longer. And then he didn't know how to say it because my dad wasn't brought up that way, but he was just kind of like, "You're a good dad." And I knew that meant the world to him. That was the biggest compliment that he could give me, because I felt like he felt that he failed and I succeeded. So I succeeded on my own and he wasn't there. So he was kind of like looking at it like, because I can tell he really like took all that in, and he was like, man, I should have been that way for you.
wow.
And I think that's how he was telling me.
Yeah.
So in a sense like that, I think like our generation, or at least when I was growing up, it wasn't really looked at that way. Like being a parent, it was just have kids, let them go, and then I got to keep doing my stuff. Like everybody was on their own. But that's how he was grown up. He was brought up. My family came from Panama, so he was in Panama. His dad was just a hard worker. He would come on, boy, you need to go do this, and everybody kind of did their own thing. So of course, when he came through, that's how he learned. So that's the only way he knew. It was like, yeah, you're kids. You just do your own thing. I don't have to be there for you. You grow up. You can learn things and make it out. So there's really no reason to it. But when we were talking about that situation, we punish the parents, but we have to still punish the kids also. So if you guys are going to jail, you guys are going to jail together. Like you're going to,
I think that's the case. Yeah. And this, from the original example, yeah, I think they're all going in.
Yeah, but if they're all going in, are you trying the kid as an adult or a child? And then also, is the kid going to be in as long as the parents?
Yeah.
Because the parents got to come
questions.
out before him. He's not going to know he'll be 18 when he comes out, but
I think
he doesn't know anything. He's still 15 years old or whatever he was.
Yeah, but 15, I think I think it's so. At what age do you start charging them as an adult? It depends on what they're doing. If you're talking murder, man, that's really hard to discuss, because like I said, we've been talking about the parents. Now let's talk about the other parents, the parents that lost a kid. I want justice.
Yeah, I think they said four kids died. So that's four families devastated, impacted. They'll never be the same again.
But at that age, so you don't believe in second chances. Let me don't put it that way. But so second chances are not really I feel like look, at 15 years old, 10 years in jail, coming out, like that's another opportunity.
Well,
at 25 years old.
Like Bobby says, I think it's easy to talk about second chances, but imagine that was your kid.
Yeah, we see, and that's what we do. I think across the board, talking about this, we keep lessening lessening the punishment. Like we were just joking around just a minute ago, and I said, if you steal,
You weren't joking.
if somebody steals, chop their friggin' hand off. And you're like, no. What about a
let's
finger?
start with the pinky
just start
first.
with pinky.
Let's
But
start with the
okay,
pinky.
then we start with the pinky, and I was like, okay, well, it went from hand to pinky. Now I get a good lawyer, and then
You
the
going
lawyer's
straight
like,
to chopping?
no,
Yeah.
I'm going to chopping.
You going straight to chopping? What
Bro,
about
look,
what about a something really like
That's what
like
we
getting your ass whooped in front of the whole
that's what we do.
city or the
That's-
whole town? Like,
No, that's what we do. So, because like I said, I worked with kids when I was in college, and these kids were sharp, man. They knew the laws better than judges and lawyers. There was one kid, I had this talk with him. We're all in a group setting, and I'm trying to help these kids out. And one of the kids was stealing cars. And I'm sitting down and I'm talking to these kids, and I was like, you know what? You got to think about what you're doing. There are repercussions for every action. There's a reaction. There's penalties for everything that you do. And I'm trying to talk to these kids and motivate them to not do what they're doing. And this kid was like, whatever, bro. He said, listen, I got put in here because I'm stealing cars. I steal one car, run down the street at night, get this car right down the road. I said, I'm never going to get caught. I take that car in there. I get $2,000. My family's poor. I take that to my family. And I'm like, and he was like, so the only reason I got caught this time is because I had too much fun. I liked the car, so I kept driving it around, and we went joyriding, and the cop picked me up. And I was like, okay. He said, so what do I have to do? I have to come here. I'm spending a month here, and then I'm back on the streets. Do you think that I'm going to go steal some more cars? And I'm sitting there like, damn, $2,000 a week?
Bobby started rethinking his life.
We got to work together. I get about four of you guys.
At that point, I mean, he's just a kleptomaniac, right? Like he's just
Is he a
addicted to that.
kleptomaniac? No, he's not addicted to it. He came from a poor family, and he's taking that home to his mom and his kids and his friends. And
So you're saying
like
that's survival.
So he was
skill.
doing. He was taking the role of, I'm a kid, and this is the only way that I can make money for my family, and it's a lot of it. So it has to go back. Look, we got to rewind it, because he knows that the punishment for that crime is very small. He has to come in there, hang out for a little bit. He's
So you're
going
saying
to
punish
do
him
it when he
harder.
goes.
But he's still
Unfortunately.
he's still a minor, so it's off of his record
But
when he
let's say
turns
that's
18.
let's say that's your son.
Yeah.
How are you handling that?
If
That's your
he-
son that's in and out stealing cars.
He's not going to be in and out. If something happens one time, I'm okay with dropping the hammer on my son, no matter what it is. If he does something so stupid, because like before, like we talked about communication. So for me, like my kids, every night they have to put their phones down on the table and leave them down there. I don't check it all the time. I don't. But I can, and I have their passwords, and I can check it whatever I want. And sometimes I just randomly just grab the phone and I'll go through everything. I'm looking at Snap, I'm looking at everything. And with now, you can check back on stuff. Even if they erase it, you can still find it. So I'm a detective when it comes to that stuff. So I looked through all of his stuff, and I found him, and he was just having conversations with his buddies.
Yeah.
And it was like stupid conversations. And then I went on his Snap, and then one of his friends, like I'm searching, I'm scrolling, I'm in.
Detective.
So, and I see one kid, they had like some alcohol in his hands, and they were acting real stupid in there. So when I got back, boom, we're driving to school, and that's when I had that talk with my son. I was like, look, Miles, I said, bro, last night I was looking at your phone, and I saw one of your friends over at your buddy's house, and they was drinking. I said, were you drinking? And he's like, huh? No. Don't even try it. I said, they were drinking. I don't know if you were drinking or not, but you put yourself in that situation. Therefore, you are guilty by association. So right now, what I'm telling you is I'm keeping this phone. You're not having your phone for a while. And this is happening. He was like, but Dad, it wasn't me. I don't care. I said, here's the situation. I said, you got to start making some better decisions. And I told him, I said, on top of that, I started looking at some of the text messages on how you guys are talking to each other. I was like, I understand you guys are trying to be cool and you guys talk a certain way. I said, you don't have to act like an idiot to be cool. It's not necessary. And those are the kind of talks I have with him. And it was very strict to the point. And I told him, I think I said this before in one of our other shows. I said, Miles, listen, I'm there for you 100%. You know, I will be dad. I will give you anything what you want. But if you do something stupid, you lose my respect. And if you lose my respect, you lose my support. Okay. And I can be the best supporter for you. I said, look, I'm a cool dad. real cool dad.
Until you're not.
and I've
Yeah.
been through everything. I know there's drinking in high school. I know all these different things. I said, but all I want you to do is just make the right decisions, bro. Just do smart things. I said, I can't keep you from doing certain things because I did certain things when I was younger. So I'm not going to be naive to it. I just want you to have good communication with me. Just talk with me. Just talk with me about anything. If you're drinking and there's some drinking and you decide to drink or whatever in high school, I don't want you to get to the point where you feel that you should just try to drive home and sneak and then try to get to me, because there's something that's going to happen in the middle of that. So what I want you to do is I want you to just talk with me.
Yeah.
About anything, because certain things I'm going to tell you not to do, and certain things I'm going to tell you if you do, this is what happens. And if you do end up drinking on something, you're a senior and some of the boys are doing it, you have a beer or two, whatever the case is, call me, bro. Yeah. Don't drive home. Call me, because I don't want you to fall into a victim of doing something stupid and getting yourself in trouble. So let's just really look at every situation and let's just make good decisions. But if you make bad decisions, that's your ass, and you have to pay the penalty, whatever it is.
Okay. Everything you just described brings up like this topic that I do believe is related to everything we've been talking about, is like, how do you view your kids? How do you view that relationship? You know, earlier we talked about, you got to get to know your kid. You got to understand your kid, but is your kid your friend? You know what I mean? Because my relationship with my parents is not like my relationship with my kids, man. Like, I wasn't friends with my parents. No. We weren't doing these things that you're describing, sitting down, talking about our, opening up. And no, it wasn't like that. Right. But here we are with our kids. We're friends with them, right? Like, I hang out with my kids and we're really close, and that we want that kind of relationship. But that's not how I grew up. I wasn't friends with my parents. It did not work that way. They did not want to hear about me. Like, I couldn't open up to them like that.
Chinese household.
For sure. For sure. It's like, we're the providers, right? Yeah. We provide for you. Make sure you study. It was all about education. But we didn't have that relationship. We didn't open up. There's no sharing of feelings. And I know that is also very connected to culture and race, and also generational things. Like, my parents were first generation immigrants. They were working all the time. I didn't say, hey dad, what do you think about me going to this party this weekend? And, I'd like to think I came out okay through all that, but yeah, now we're friends with our kids, right? Now we're buddies. We spend more time with them. We do more. I didn't hang out with my parents at all.
Yeah. You can be. And I think certain ages you can be more friends, and you can dial it back, but you have to always let them know who dad is. I was with my son yesterday. After I picked him up from football practice, we were driving. I had to go drop this receiver off at Best Buy, and then we went some shop, and we were hanging around. And I was like, man, this is cool. Like, we're joking around. We're just me and my son, and I was like, we're looking at one of those metaverse head faces and all this. So we were just joking around, and then as we drove home, I was like, man, let's go get something to eat. He's like, yeah. So we go over there and get something to eat. We're driving back, just buddies. Yeah. And then when we pull up at home, I remember, because before I picked him up, his room was like garbage. As soon as I parked in, I was like, hey man, I said, you need to go upstairs and you can clean your room. And before you even try to put any of this stuff down, you need to clean that room, get it all done. And he was like, all right, no problem, Dad. Because he knew, like, I can be your best friend, but I'm still dad. And you know it. There's going to be a line towards, we can be friends the whole time, but I'm still going to make sure that you do the things that you have to do. And he knows that. And when he saw that, it was like, it almost seemed like our conversation switched to be, hey, yeah, blah, blah, like that. To when I got home, I was like, hey.
That was dad talking, not your buddy.
Yeah. Now you need to go upstairs and make sure to clean up that room, get all those clothes, make sure it gets downstairs in the washer, get that stuff washed. And I don't want that like that anymore.
You can live both lifestyles. That's the thing. It's like, I understand what you're saying, like coming up that way. Because when my parents were together, that's the lifestyle I had, was the way.
Yeah, you said earlier before, like, dinner, the way dinners were, like, there was no, hey, how was your day?
No,
hey,
no,
Josh,
it was like, don't really talk at the dinner table.
Right,
it was like, no, you sit down and eat. That was when my parents were together. And then when they separated, I went to go live with my mom for a couple of years and we lived with my grandmother at the time in San Jose. And my mom wasn't around because she was working, and my dad lived in another, like, outside of town, but he lived, he was trying to see us as much as possible every other weekend, was what his visitation rights are. Grandma pretty much raised me from then on, and then I went to go live with my dad, and then my dad's mom helped raise me also. But my dad was very much how you're saying. See, so I had that separation where my dad's like, hey, we were buddy, On the weekends, we try to spend time together when he wasn't working. You know, when he did make my games, we'd go have breakfast, we'd go have lunch. We had this thing where before he would drop me off at school, we would go have steak and eggs at this little dive bar, you know, this
But
little dive
you
restaurant.
didn't have as much time with him.
Didn't have as much time with him.
So when
but
you had the time,
when I
he
had
tried
the
to make
time.
it more fun.
Yeah, he made it more fun, but it was still like, hey, when you come home from wrestling, that your room needs to be clean or the dishes need to be done. You know, this stuff's not like, I want this floor clean. This floor is disgusting. Like those kind of conversations. But we had our moments, you know, we'd spend times like on the Sundays, we'd go to the river, you know, and we'd spend time rafting, doing whatever it was, or fishing or camping or whatever by the river on that day, whatever it was. And we'd be out there, you know, and having a good time, you know, jumping off the bridge into the water, doing all this other stuff. That's the relationship I had, but that was after parents, you know, had been separated. So during the time they were together, you know, he was always working. Mom was kind of a stay at home, but there was no like, let's be buddy. Nah, this is my way. Yeah. It's my way, no way. That's it.
Right.
And
It's such this old school. Earlier we talked about, you know, we're talking about, are you friends with your kids? And then we talked about how we grew up getting whooped. Like you don't do that today, right? But we're closer to them. So I don't know. I know we're all old school kind of guys, right? So I'm trying to not lose some of that. Not to say I want to, you know, start whooping my kids, but like you said, there's different forms of punishment and different ways to correct behavior. So I think that's what I'm kind of balancing. I say it all the time because I even asked my wife. She's like, "Don't you think you were kind of hard on you know, so and so for that moment?" I'm like, how did you grow up? How did your dad respond? He goes, "Oh, he whooped my ass." I'm like, "See?" So I feel like we came out all right. Like why did we move away from that so much?
But I can look into it the other way. Like, so for me, when I was a freshman, I snuck out of my window. I had some friends stay at my house. Snuck out of my window with my two buddies. Dad was asleep. He was, you know, asleep in the other room. Snuck out. We get up to the high school to meet the girls. We're all hanging out. Ooh, cops pull up. What are you guys doing? Da-da-da. So call my dad because the boys are not supposed to be out. They're at my house staying, so we don't call their parents. So we call my dad.
Right.
My dad comes and picks us up, and he's like, "You idiots! Why'd you guys go through the screen window? Like now I got to put it back up."
Yeah.
He's like, "You know, you could have just walked out the front door."
Right.
Like my dad was more of that way.
Right.
Like, hey,
Like the practical. I hope it was worth it. Were they cute girls?
yeah, he had that full. But then I started respecting my dad more because I'm like, okay. He's like, look, I'm up at 2 in the morning now, 3 in the morning, picking you guys up, knuckleheads. He's like, look, next time just go out the front door. So then we get into my room and my buddy goes, "Did you hear that? Your dad said we could go."
Yeah.
and then my dad hears
Josh
him say
is
that.
the cool dad.
He's like, "Not tonight, boys. Not tonight.
Yeah.
I'm already picked you up. We're done for
But
the
that's
night."
the cool dad, right? That's
Yeah.
the cool dad response. Because the complete opposite would have been like, "What the hell were you thinking?
Well,
You keep your ass. You never leave this house at midnight." Or you
but it's the
never do
understanding
that.
though too. There was 3 of us that went. 3 of us between the 3 of us, and then we met, you know, 3 girls. But there was like we weren't by ourselves. You know, we had to walk through a cemetery to get to the high school. Yeah, so we were like, it was like we were kind of a little pack, and we traveled. You know, it was kind of. I think he understood there was no danger.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
and that, it was harmless.
Yeah, it was harmless. He's like, "Look, now just you guys." And my buddy's like, "Oh yeah, your dad said we could just go out the front." And my dad yells through the door, he's like, "I didn't say that,
Yeah.
and not tonight. I've already picked you guys up." He's like, "Next time I'll let them take you to jail."
Yeah.
We're just
I
like,
think
okay.
I think it's a different way. Like I think it's cool to have the kids respect you enough to not do the wrong thing.
But there was no one got injured, no one got hurt.
Yeah.
Like it really, like you were saying, if your son's out drinking, that was one thing with my dad. I could always call him and be like, "Hey, you know, like I've been partying too much, I've been drinking too much, whatever it is, like I need you to come pick me up." He's like, "Okay, well, can you stay at a friend's house?" Or, you know, he's like, "If not, then I'll come swoop you right now."
Right.
I'm like, okay. So we had that dialogue, especially when I got into high school, because don't stop your kids from doing stuff in a safe manner. I think
Right.
Jordan Peterson said something like that. When they're doing something that's dangerous, but they're doing it as safely as they can, don't hinder them from doing it.
Right.
Like be there, supportive of them.
Yeah.
You know, and that's very key because now they feel like they can rely on you. Whereas, like I said, with that note that I have with my son, you can tell me anything. Just bring me this note, and I promise I won't get mad. Then we can work through it together.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference on how
Yeah.
much your kids will communicate with you.
Yeah.
Because that, like you talk about, that constant communication, that open line of communication is going to be very important, especially when they get into those high school years.
Yes.
We're not there yet.
Yeah.
But that's the one thing I'm trying to lay the groundwork for now. Look,
Mhm.
I am your father, but I can be your friend, but if you make the right choices.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm going to be the disciplinary and the father, and it's going to be very strict. And if you're not making the right choices,
Yeah.
because I say the same thing too when I'm coaching him. I say, hey, when I'm out here and I'm your coach, I'm not your dad. Don't argue back with me. Because you don't do that with your real coach. I hear you.
See, but that's the thing. That's that dynamic. For whatever reason, they don't respond right to a father's coaching. Even the best of them, even the best coaches out there, their kids don't listen to them either. It's such a interesting dynamic.
He didn't listen to me when I first started working with him, but then I one day just said, I am not your father right now. We're not having this conversation. You treat me like as if I'm your coach. Do you talk back to your coach? No, because you get in the car and you tell me, well, my coach said to do it this way.
Yeah, because because there's such this level of comfort because you've established that we're friends, right?
Yeah.
Like I didn't tell my dad anything and he's my buddy. And then when he tries to get on me, it's just my dad until you show him, right? Like you said, nah.
Yeah.
This is where I draw the line, and you're going to feel, me as your father, as opposed to, hey, we're just buddies hanging out. So I think that's where it kind of gets tricky, right? But I do think it's better to have a much deeper relationship, to be their friend, and also to find the right ways to be their father at the right times and at the important times too, right? Because I feel like, I joke, hey, we used to get whooped. We didn't really have close relationships with our parents, but it is better this way. It is evolution, in my opinion, to be closer to them.
I guess the next conversation, not next one, but like on top of this, how much do you encourage your kids to be, to communicate and encourage them to be best friends with their sister or their brother? Like, how much do you encourage that? Because there was something that you do. There was something that was said to me was your child, the longest person that they will ever know will be their sibling. Yeah. Because they will be there from the time they were born until the time they die. Yeah. They will know nobody else longer than they know their sibling.
Sure.
Your parents, you won't know that long because your parents will go before the siblings do.
Yeah.
This is your number one friend. This is the person you will know the longest, which will be your brother or your sister. Not your mom, not your dad, not your grandparents, not your aunts and uncles. You know what I mean? Like, if
I think
things
it's
go the
important
way
now.
that they,
I think it's important now. But I mean, do you talk to your brother a lot?
We do.
I think it's different when you get older, and I think it's different for men and women.
Mm-hmm.
Sisters, I think, are tighter.
Yeah.
I think brothers don't talk as much. It's different.
I think it's how you raise them too, because we all have the same kind of dynamic in kids.
Yeah,
the boy and the girls like 2 or 3 years younger. I talk to my son because they're very competitive. So when you say that, my daughter was running, and they both ran the same race. So they ran the 4x200, and my daughter ended up winning districts, and they started doing this. And my son was trying to not praise her, kind of like dog her out a little bit because he's doing it. Oh, you were in that. And I was like, no. I said, no, I don't even want to hear this. I said, I support you. I support her. You need to support your sister because your sister is important. She comes to all your races. If they try not to, I'm like, no, we're going. I don't care if you sit in the stands and play on your phone. You're going to be there for your brother, and you're going to be there for your sister. And my son is very big on. He wants to see his sister do good. It's kind of like a feather in his cap. They kind of fight a little bit, but they push each other so hard. So I tell him, and I'm like, no. I said, nobody's more important than your sister. So I always tell him, but I'm good with everybody. I'm like, did you call your mom today? If they do something, whether good or bad, did you call your mom and tell her? Your sister, and they have an older sister that's in college too. So say, call your sister. I try to make sure that relationship is strong. Because of course that came from where I was at. I didn't have that.
Speaking of talking, my brother, today's his birthday.
No kidding.
So there you go. Just
no
so
kidding.
happens.
There you go.
No, but the difference though, I wouldn't say the difference. My way of what you're talking about, do I still talk to him? Yes, I talk to him probably at least.
It's just different.
3-4 times a year.
Because everyone's busy now. Everyone has their own.
But it's not just
lives.
that. When my parents got divorced, my brother and sister stayed with my mom, and I went to go live with my dad. So it was like I pretty much, from the time I was 9, 10 years old, I went to go live with my dad. And so that's where we were separated. We had different lifestyles. They were kind of raised by my grandmother and my mom, and I was raised by my dad. And then his mom helped out a lot, you know, and she's the reason why I got into fighting. She put me in my first jiu-jitsu class and kickboxing class. So it just like, it was a different life. I lived out of state. They lived in California. I moved up to Idaho.
But it was always, this is family.
Always
stay connected. Yeah, I think that's the most important thing, right, for the siblings is to
but back
always
then,
look out for your, especially if it's if it's an older brother, younger sister.
I was the oldest. So
right?
I was the oldest. So it was like, no matter, when we were younger and my parents were together, my dad used to give me the whole speech. If something happens to your brother or sister, don't come home. Yeah. You better fight. You better die on your shield out there protecting them. Yeah. I've had that conversation so many times. You know, I've gotten in a couple fights, kids pushing my brother into like the little creeks and stuff. Dad's like, go over there, handle that.
Yeah. You know, that's interesting that you bring up the siblings, and to go back to, you know, what kicked this whole session off. I wonder if that kid was probably an only child. I mean, we need more information.
Yeah.
But let's say he was, right? Like, I think having siblings, you know, and having that connection is obviously very helpful, man.
Yeah, because then it's not all about you. There's no sense of like understanding that other people hurt because you haven't had that with a sibling. All they see is the parent. They're the only ones that hurt. And if the parents weren't doing a great job with him, the punishment only comes down on him.
You have someone else to go to and that you connect with.
You know what I do with my kids, and I think this is important. I think this is everything that we're doing. I think it's everything. It sets the groundwork for the framework for everything that we do. It sounds corny, but goals. You know, when you say you keep your kids in sports, why? Because it keeps their attention on doing positive, and it keeps them out of all the negatives, right? Because when I was wrestling, most of the time I'm cutting weight, I got practice. The coach is checking to make sure that you're eligible, so your grades have to be good, and you have somebody that keeps you accountable all the time. So I think in life in general, I think parents should really do this, and it's very important with them. And I have my kids do this, is set goals in life all the way across the board. So if they set goals, and if they're playing sports, what does that look like? I try to have them do something every once in a while. I have them break out their notebook, and I say, tell me something that you accomplished today, give me a goal for tomorrow, and give me something that you want to do later, and just write it down. Not all the time, because, you know, if they did it all the time, then they'd be like, and they just write anything. But I try to force them to do it at least once a week or every other day or something like that. And why that's important, my son now, 15, about to be 16, driving, you know, there's going to be drinking. There's a lot of stuff going on with school. And his friends want to do this and do that. So in a case like that, if you go out and drink, I'm not going to sit there and fight you and beat you down because you drank. I'm going to pick you up, bring you home. In the morning, 6 a.m., we're going to go run. Yeah. And I'm not going to say, I'm forcing you to do this because of this. I'm just saying we're on a path to be state champion in football next year, to be starting in varsity. We're on a path to be a state champion in wrestling. We're on a path to get good grades. We're on a path to be a successful person in life. So if you do the negatives, you have to counter them with the positives. So I'm not saying don't drink. I'm just saying if you do drink, then do this. Because in college, you had to be social in college. I won nationals a few times, everything like that. So when we were going through the season, it was like, could I not go out and drink and have a good time with my buddies? I could, but you can ask anyone that I wrestled with. That next morning, I was out there running. I had my sweats on. I wanted to sweat that out. So I mixed the two. So if you get those goals and you set goals and you know that framework and you keep kind of like revisiting those goals and setting small goals, and if we're moving in a different direction, it doesn't give you an opportunity to go this way.
Right.
You have to stay that way. So we're thinking about the kids shooting up the school and everything like that. If he did that, where was his direction? Did he have any direction in life whatsoever? Or was he just like randomly going through life with, okay, I'm supposed to be going to school here. I don't know what I'm going to do. Because if you don't have no goals of graduating high school, what you're going to do after high school and everything like that, then you're gone. You're just around in idle time. It causes kids, they will find something to do. Negative. So you got to set goals with your kids. You got to sit down and talk about them. You got to work forward, and you have to stay on path. If you veer off, we need to get back on.
Yeah.
So that doesn't give you an opportunity to keep doing stupid stuff, because if you're doing stupid stuff, it's like, I don't know what to do. And I'm just standing around. So let me play with this. And then you're online and you're seeing this. And then so you don't have anything going on.
Right.
But if you have those goals, whether it's being in sports, whether it's school, whether it's acting, no matter what it is, you have to get your kids focused on something.
Right. But what's that age?
At birth.
Remember,
Bobby,
hey,
Bobby, let's
No,
be real.
it's
That age? Is it 6? Is it 8?
Yeah, because
Is it 12? Like,
yeah, it's all as soon as they can understand what we're talking about. So I say that could be at friggin' 2. You don't have to like drilling in on them and say, hey, we're setting goals. But you know, if the kid's not walking, what are you doing? You're working on goals in order to get him to walk. So he's understanding, you know, because you give him the little walker and then he's doing that. You're not verbalizing it to him, but he understands I'm using this walker so that I can stand up. And then I'm going here. So you're constantly doing that. And then when you're young,
Bobby, you got a military house, bro. Like you
Yeah.
know, this kid's
Makes sense,
focused.
though. He's a military
focused on this.
I don't do it so much of like hammering on my kids. I do it in a way that they almost don't know that I'm doing it. I'm just I'm setting. So like even if when they're young,
Cheat
six-
code.
So you're
Cheat code.
manipulating your children.
Yeah.
Very
No,
good.
no, but look, Josh, here's the thing though, guys. Here's the thing. I'm all right with it because I know Miles is not going to be the next kid that goes and shoots other kids. Like I'm okay with it, man.
I get what you guys are saying. I
That's
get
positive. It might, in your opinion, it might be a little strict or harsh or intense. But I'm like, hey, I'm not going to worry about Bobby's kids being the terrors of the community in the neighborhood.
That
Like-
age,
like,
I'm okay.
good with it.
That age, I'm okay. But like,
Yeah.
so I'm asking, what's the age? Like, honestly,
all the way
at that
young.
5-6 years old, the mentality is completely different between a male and a female. My daughter seems to understand and comprehend a lot more when she's really involved in something.
Sure.
Whereas my son is still, even at 9, almost 10, going.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
girls
Like,
I don't
mature
think- I
so
don't
much
think
it matters.
faster though.
I don't think it matters. It's still okay because
Yeah.
what you're doing is you're teaching people a lesson. So even at 6, it's like, hey, what I want you to do is I want you to write down what you want to be as an adult. They can be, I want to be a firefighter. I want to be this. It doesn't matter what it is. You're not tied to it. You're not set on it. They can say, I want to be a pro football player. So what you do is you tell them, all right, if you want to be a football player, let's go do this. Let's go do a drill here.
You know, at
Because you're
6, they're
teaching-
still trying to learn how to write, right? Put together real sentences and spell
You-
things.
you-
He's like, write it out. What do you mean?
You can help them.
Are you going to be
Go
on them about
you
they
can go-
misspelled firefighter?
Yeah, no.
What's wrong with your spelling? What have you been doing at school? What am I paying for? What is all this? Where are my taxes going?
I think it's a way of, I had a buddy of mine that I thought he was brilliant. I think I told the story before, but he was teaching math at a high school. And one of the kids came to him and they were like, you know, why do I get a little X plus Y? And this doesn't make any sense. How is that going to help me out in life? When he said it, and I thought it was brilliant, and I took it to myself and I tried to use it with myself. He said, it has nothing to do with those numbers. What it's doing is teaching your brain how to solve problems.
Yeah.
So an equation is a freaking problem. And the more you learn, you go trigonometry and you get better. So you get better at solving problems. So
Yeah.
later on in life, when you're driving and your tire blows out, you got to be at work. You got a meeting at this time. Some people are like, oh, and then they can't do it because why? Because they're not good at solving problems. Another person that's really good and it's trained their brain how to solve problems, they're like, okay, no problem. I'm called AAA. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to call this. I'm going to have this meeting kind of moved over here, and then I'm going to be still to make it and calm. And they're calm all the way through because they have that ability to solve problems. So as a kid, when they're young, it doesn't matter what they write. I don't care what they write. At 6 years old, I'm like, tell me what you want to be when you grow up. Tell me something that you did productive. And they're like, oh, I don't know. What does that mean? And then you explain it to them. Say, what do you think you did that made you a better person today? And they're like, oh, this is fun. And you make it in a fun way so they can say, well, I dressed
Josh
my
is not
doll up.
convinced
It
it's
doesn't.
fun.
It
Josh
doesn't.
is like,
It doesn't
Bro,
matter what it is.
Do you know how?
They
Do
can
you know
tell
how
you.
difficult? I have a 5-year-old. Do you know how difficult it is when she looks and she wants to write a word and he's like, "Yeah, write it out." She's so.
No. At a certain age, they write it up.
They
For
start
you-
stressing
no,
about
come
having
on,
to
you know
write
what it
something
means.
out.
For you,
You know
for
what he
you, for you at 5, you can just say, "Tell me, let's talk about
Okay,
it."
okay.
But
Now
I'm
he's
trying.
changing it.
I'm trying to get them.
Yes.
Right now, my kid's 15 and 12, so I'm like, you write it out. But before, I just want them to start getting to that point of knowing.
No, I understand what you're
goal
saying.
setting.
Like, okay, Ollie's 9.
Yeah.
Ollie, what do you want to be? He has very precise goals. Seriously, he's like, I want to go to Stanford. And I want to play baseball. I want to be a Major League Baseball player. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, let's live a life that gets us there. My daughter, she's 6. Kennedy, what do you want to be? Daddy, I want to be a fashion designer and a singer. Okay, well, Let's do things. I totally understand what you're
Go
saying.
get it. Go get it.
Let's live a life that
machines.
takes us there, right?
Yeah. Get her one of those little karaoke machines, and she can see the words, or you can tell her the words. You guys to sing along. It's just training their brain to say, if I do this, then this will happen. Cause and effect. If I want this is what I need to do in order to get there. Yeah. And it could, and I do it really, really fun. Like we were talking about before, when my son was like, he's running the 200, he's on varsity. Then this year was kind of hard for him. Freshman against these grown men, and they're fast here in Texas. So he didn't make it to state. And I was like, all right, so what do you want to do? I didn't make it to a point where like you failed or you succeeded or anything like that. I'm like, what do you do? How do you think that we can get better at this? And I let him figure that out. He was like, well, I would like to go to IMG. I was like, bro, that's like $3,000 a week. And I was like, all right, IMG. I said, what else?
Let's slow it down. Let's talk about this.
I said, what else can we do? I said, Miles, you guys look at TikTok and all these different channels, man. I said, a lot of the workouts that I have you guys do, I'm just going out there. I said, what you should do is go on there and see some of those little drills that they show people how to be faster. Write that down or just save that video and go over there to that little open field and start doing it. Don't make me have to tell you to do it. So then now he's going over there. He's like, all right, I'll do that. And I'm gonna start trying. So it's like, it's teaching them that anything that you want to succeed, there is a friggin' map to do it. There's a way to do it. If you don't know, figure it out. Because you can't, everything's easily figured out. I used to talk to kids all the time, and I love this story when I was talking to this group of kids. And of course, being an athlete, I was like, which one of you guys, are there any athletes here? Big kid sitting in there raises his hand, and he was like, tall kid, 6'7". I said, okay, what do you want to be? And he was like, I want to be a basketball player. All right, cool. Who's your favorite basketball player? Michael Jordan, LeBron James, or like that. I was like, Michael Jordan. I said, oh yeah, that was really cool. Michael Jordan, he's the one that, in his book, did you read his book? He was like, nah, but I said, did you hear he used to shoot like 500 free throws a day or something like that? He was like, yeah. I said, oh, cool. I said, did you shoot 500 free throws today? And he was like, huh? And I was like, he said, what do you mean? I said,
no, I don't shoot free throws.
You want to be him, and you're telling me this is what he did. I said, and I told the kids, I said, look, anything that you want to do in life, there's a map, and a map is usually a book, or now we have social media, and they'll show you and tell you everything they did to be successful. So do that. If you do nothing else to make it to the NBA and be the best, do what the best is saying. Even if they, because books you embellish a little bit. You're like, yeah, shoot 8,000 free throws a day. Just go do it. Go do it. If you have the time, just go do it. So that's what I'm saying is like, if you have a goal, then follow the steps in order to get you to that goal. Don't just let kids just be all over the place. So you teach them at an early age that if you want to do something, start doing the things that will kind of help you get that direction. So even as a young kid, 5 years old, they're like, I want to be a firefighter. Okay, what do firefighters do? Well, they have to be in shape. All right, well, I think you should do like jog around the house. Maybe I had them jogging up the stairs. I have videos of me having my kids like do, and they got into it. It was fun for them. I was like, yeah, do some push-ups. You got to do different things like that. So we had fun with it. So I didn't make it seem like, oh, you're so hard. But I made them realize if you want to do something, then there's a steps in order to do it.
Bobby, let me ask you a question. Will you bring up this example to Miles of what we talked about today?
Yes.
Yeah.
Every time,
because it's the same age. Like the more you talk about him and everything you guys work on together, I'm like, man, it is wild that you got a 15-year-old of your own. Like, can you imagine him doing something like that? Will that be something you
100%?
Say, hey, son, let's
100%.
Yeah.
I talk to him. It goes back to being friends with their kids.
Yeah.
I talk to them about this podcast every single time. And when I go home, I'm like, I can't wait to talk to my kids about it. Because the one topic we had, how soon do you start pushing your kids? I came back and I asked them, I said, how soon should I start pushing you guys? We talked about that in the podcast. And they start having a little conversation about it. And my daughter was like, well, I think maybe like 14. Miles was like, no, it got to be earlier than that. So we just went back and forth.
Fascinating.
And we let them go. And when it's something like this, is shooting up to school, oh, yes, we talk about it. Because I go back to him and I'm like, bro, and I don't talk to him like preaching to him. I was like, hey, man, we talked about this kid that shot up to school at 15 years old. And they'll sit there and we just have real conversations. I was like, look, that's stupid. Period. I said, that's stupid. I said, you know what happened with that kid? He's going to go to prison for the rest. Probably, and I don't know. He's going to go to prison. His parents are going to go to prison. It's a big scar on him. It just ruined his entire life. So everything that kid had any dreams of, hopes of, goals of, it's done. Do you guys understand that? And I said, I love you guys to death, man. Think if that happened, if one of you were that kid that got shot, it would destroy me. I wouldn't be able to live on. I said, Miles, think if that happened to your sister.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to like function. So those are the conversations I have with them. So I let them understand what's going on. Right. And I think sometimes kids don't.
When he says how soon, like, do you start pushing them, or how soon do you start kind of
having these real serious conversations?
It has to be sooner rather than later, not because of something may happen. What it is it all happens so fast. It all flies by so fast. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, like, we have kids that are 9, about to be 10. Like, it's been like that. I mean, Rich,
it's crazy.
You know what I mean? Like, it's,
oh, man.
You know what I mean? Like, look, we're actually closer to now them leaving than them being more in our house. 18 years old, being in college. Like, they're going to be leaving the house versus staying. Like, 10 years old, they've been in the house longer than they're going to be in it now. Yeah. So that's how fast this thing goes by, and how soon should you start pushing them. Like, I would say like around the 7-8-year-old mark is kind of that time, like, okay. And then when you get into that, I said earlier in the podcast that we've done, that 13, 14 is like, look, the conversation you have with them that you're almost out of time. Mm-hmm. This is your moment now, but you should have been leading up to this, doing the extra, strength and agility, doing the extra, putting in the work if it's maybe sports. Academically, it's getting some extra time in with
gauges of like, hey, our test scores or whatever aren't where they're supposed to be. So there's different
like with
ways
my son,
to see if you're on track.
Like with my son, the math is not a problem. So we keep on pushing. The reading portion of it all is just like, hey, we just need to pick up some extra slack, to get you more, at least a little bit more advanced, or at least right there where you should be, like is where you're at. Just trying to improve on that. Summertime is, I don't want to say summer school, but we got summer tutors. And if you don't have access to tutors, then there's availabilities online as well that you can use from YouTube to other ways to help your kids advance more, and whether it's math, science, geography, reading, whatever it is. But I guess I go back to, for me, who would have thought that now that we have access to so much more information that we seem not to use it? Yeah. Access is like, if I would have had this earlier in my career, to jump on the web and be like, okay, look, these are the type of things that can make me faster. These are the type of things that can help me with my power. Yeah. These are the type of things that can make me a better grappler. Like, we didn't really have that. Like, we were really calling our buddy going, hey man, you want to come over so we could try and figure this out?
Yeah. We could run against each other. I heard about this guy running in a pool. Let's try that.
Yeah, let's try that. Jumping out of a pool with BJ Penn, right?
I almost missed those days though, to be quite honest.
But use your resources.
Yeah. I missed those days of just figuring it out on your own. I do think there is some value in that. But yeah, ton of information out there, whatever you choose to, a good thing and a bad thing, right? Like, you got to filter what you choose to bring into your home to talk to your kids about. I mean, I'm very curious to see, I guess next time we get together, how this conversation goes with, hey kids, they may have other classmates like that. They may see other kids in school that are like that. I mean, think about that, right? Mm. When you realize what a 15-year-old is capable of, son, they are capable of, you have a classmate that is capable of doing this, of going home, or however, again, we're missing so many details, and I'm going to research that because now I'm so curious, everything we talked about.
But then
how did he get the gun? What were his parents doing?
But on the on the flip side of this is, there was a video that I just saw the other day, and there's an article about it. I'll have to try and find it. There was a woman that was arguing with an older guy, probably like in his early 20s, and they were at I think a fast food restaurant, or they were at a restaurant or something like that. They were ordering at the counter, and the mom and the guy started arguing. Well, the guy took it upon himself and started hitting her and knocking her out, punching her in the face. Well, she was in the process right before this all happened, was texting her 14-year-old son. The 14-year-old son came in to the restaurant right when he started hitting his mom in the face. He pulled out a gun and shot the guy in the back. Now, the question is, he did the right thing, but he's also 14. Where'd you get a gun?
Yeah.
I mean, there's other ways of looking at it. I guess I could
Yeah, he protected his
definitely different.
his mom.
He's protecting your mother. That's your mother.
And then
I mean, like,
did he get
what are you doing?
punished? Right? Did he get punished?
I don't know.
for it?
I think this just happened like probably about a
Yeah.
week ago. So
That's a very.
I'll have to get the video and pull up
Right.
exactly.
I mean, we're missing a lot of details, but I think the important thing to know is like kids kids that you have at this age are capable of doing really, really good things and really, really, not that was bad, but
But
they're capable of doing a lot.
A young boy at a young age is taught, I mean, at least in my house, is that I don't give a crap what happens. You better protect your mother.
Yeah.
Your mother and your grandmother are like the queens of your castle, that kind of thing. That's how it's always been in my family, whether it's my mom's side or my dad's side. I mean, I talked back to my dad's mom one time. It was not good. It was not, and it's just they are just to be grandmothers or to be held on a pedestal.
Sure.
Especially 100%. My mom's side too, where my dad's side as well, but my mom's side. My mom's the youngest of like 13 kids. Yeah, I mean, so like definitely don't talk back to grandma. You don't disrespect her. She's helping waking you up in the morning, making you breakfast, making sure you got your stuff, you're sent to school. She's there meeting you on the sidewalk when you walk home from school. She's making you after school food, and then she's helping you with your homework. Like, you just don't disrespect. I mean, uncles will come over and whoop your ass. Because aunties don't whoop you. Uncles come over. They make a visit at the house to whoop your ass. Yeah. If you talk back to their mother. So, I mean, at this young boy at 14 years old, sees someone beating his mom. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, where'd you get a gun? That's the first thing. The second thing is, good for you, young man. Good for you.
Yeah.
No one's hitting my mama.
That's a very isolated situation. I don't
it is. It is.
Because I teach it's hard because for me, I don't know. My son's 15 and his mom is, she's single right now. So she's in the process of dating and she'll probably meet somebody. And then when that person comes into the household, it's a man coming into the household with my younger daughter and him. So now my son's put in a position where, is there a new man in the house? But you are the man of the house, bro, because you've been here. He may not stay because she got married before and went through a divorce. So he may not stay. So you have to set that role of, I'm going to be the man of the house. I can get that position, but I'm still going to be kind of right there close. So he needs to still protect mom and sister. So I don't want to talk on whether. I gotta get my son's hand right. So he might be able to go here a little bit before pulling the trigger, because that is a scary situation.
But I think in that scenario, he walked in, obviously had a gun, and just didn't know what else to do. I mean, at 14 years old, this guy
how
was.
How do you get the gun?
Yeah, how do you get the gun?
I have many questions, and all these with these two kind of extreme but real scenarios.
let's go into, like, if you teach your kid though hands, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, like if you put them at a young age, even if they know the bare minimum against a grown ass man, they will win.
The grown man will win?
Yeah, no, the kid.
The kid?
I think not at 8, 9 years old against a grown man, but I'm saying, you say 15, 16 miles age, 15, 16, 17, that young man with a little bit of jiu-jitsu and a little bit of wrestling, he's going to probably beat that guy.
Yeah.
And let's, I guess I go into the same thing, is if that guy, that male, the adult, had any type of wrestling or any type of kickball, any type of fighting, he probably wouldn't be putting his hands on a female. I just feel like the relationship that martial arts or wrestling or jiu-jitsu teaches men is, why would I'm here to protect women. I'm here to protect the less.
Look, I think everything we're saying, keep your kids, get to know your kids, connect with them, be their friend, but also be the parent when you need to be. Keep them on track, keep them busy, keep them focused on positive goals. I think all these things that we've been talking about will make it less likely that your child does end up becoming that next 15-year-old that goes on a freaking shooting spree. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. Like maybe those parents did everything they could, but I think everything we're talking about, you have to do it, right? Like it's going to reduce the risk of your reduce the chances of your child just getting into bad things, right? Everything we're talking about, follow this path, connect with them. I would dare to say that kid probably wasn't involved in a lot of positive things, probably wasn't train in martial arts or in a sport, or I'm going to go research it now. Could be completely wrong. Like, what if he was like straight A student, captain of the football team? Yeah. And just to, but something tells me he wasn't.
Yeah.
That he was looking for something, looking for support. He was probably bullied. Or a bully, right? Like just in a not living this life that we're trying to set up for the kids.
I think let's look at the whole scenario also. The mom is yelling at some guy, and then the guy getting in a fight. Like, there's a lot of problems there also.
Right.
Now, there's no justification for hitting her, but what was going on there? Like, if you're like, as a grown man, like we felt, I don't need to be fighting on the street. I don't even get into those kind of altercations.
You said they were out at a restaurant.
They were in line at a restaurant. I guess for me, like he's back to blaming the victim.
I'm not blaming the victim.
He's back to blaming the victim.
I'm trying to look at the whole scenario.
I don't care if she spit on me. I am not putting my hands on her.
I know that. And I will never there's no justification for fighting. Like, even if it was two guys, there's no
justification for him touching a female.
Yes, there's no justification for any of that. But I'm saying, like, what was going on? What kind of environment were we? Like, what was going on? Like, no, he should not have been hitting her. There shouldn't have been no arguing. There shouldn't have been anything. Like, this is classless. At certain levels, it doesn't get to that point, and it shouldn't get to that point. You can, like, I've been in situations where it could have got ugly. I know how to navigate around it. Like, I've especially being a pro wrestler coming in. Oh, I fight MMA, and then I'll do this. I had one guy come to me. What do you guys do? Oh, pro wrestling. Oh, pro wrestler. He's like, man, I fight MMA. I fight UFC. That's what he said. So that was fantastic. I fight UFC. I was like, oh, yeah, that's cool, And he goes, yeah, you know what? I would just with two fingers, I could just grab your ear, and he grabbed my ear, and he goes, you got your ears are hard. It's wrestling and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, I fought too, but go ahead with your little stuff. Like,
your little stuff.
He was trying to punk us because we were pro wrestlers. But like, I was even though he was going all this macho stuff and everything like that, I was like, I could murder this kid if I want to, but I was not going to engage into his stuff. He was like trying to pull me into a fight, and I was like, bro, I'm so way above you mentally and physically that I'm not even going to listen to your stuff. But then he saw my ears. He was like, oh, you fought? I was like, yeah, I fought before, but go ahead, with your little fight UFC. You fought UFC, really? What's your name? Where'd you fight? All those different things. He was just like a little tough guy, and it kind of brought him down. But my buddy that really didn't have that same kind of deal, he was ready to fight.
He wanted to go.
Yeah, and I was like, what are we trying to prove here? So some of these different things, and my son sees how I am, and my kids see how I am. When I go to different situations, they see how I kind of respond to the situation.
Yeah, those days I think have changed. As we've matured,
don't need to.
Yeah, we don't need to. I think also too, the better that I got in fighting, the less likely I was to get into altercations. And that just comes with more confidence of realizing that, hey, the guys at the bar after a drink or two, they don't, even if they knew a little bit, they're not on the level, even if I've forgot more than they have learned. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I think that's a scenario where we just, Rich, I mean, you're black belt. Like, it's like,
Well, also for you guys, it's like, why fight for free, man?
Yeah.
After you get paid for it, you start getting paid well.
Don't ever do something for free when you're good at it.
But all these things give you this mindset, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, you have this mindset from the way you were raised, from the goals that you chose to put in front of you to achieve. And that's what makes you, what makes you guys who you are today. Yep. And we got to pass it along to the kids, huh?
All right, guys. Well, hey, we're going to wrap it up right there. Let's call that was a good one today. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, that was heavy.
It was heavy. I mean,
Bobby wants, hey guys, Bobby don't play. You steal that hand. He wants hands.
I said the finger. Bobby said the hand. And look,
first time too. He said we don't even.
And just remember, he may not even come after the guy who stole it. He's a victim blamer. He's going to come after the guy who's selling the fruit.
Yeah, we're going to get everybody.
We're going to get everybody involved. Everyone's going to be in trouble.
All the way to the manufacturers. It shouldn't have looked so good that he stole it.
These farmers, man, you all get in trouble, man, if they steal a fruit. All right, guys. Hey, hopefully you guys enjoyed another episode of the Dad Dojo. We want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Leave your comments down below. We're a couple episodes in and want to just get your feedback and what you guys think of the show. Topics you guys would probably like us to chat on. And this is all just for fun, man. This is us sharing our stories with you guys. And obviously we're just good friends that we've been knowing each other for probably pushing 20 years now. And so we just wanted to share our information with you, what we go through, and hopefully you guys enjoy it and you can relate to it. And comment down below. Also hit that subscribe button. Thanks, guys.